Hey, good morning, Senator Craig Brandt from the Republican Leadership Office. This is Roundhouse Rundown, and this is episode 16. Thank you so much for joining us today. We wanted to come and talk a little bit about more recent news. Um, Before I get into what today's podcast is really about, there's been a lot of confusion over the last week about what's going on in our caucus, and I just want everyone to feel at ease that I've stepped up and keeping things going for now, and we will be making some decisions fairly soon about the direction for the leadership. So don't worry, we're still here, we're still running, and everything is going smoothly. And we haven't missed a beat, to be honest with you, in the last week. But we really want to talk today and just remember, the loss of one of our state police officers, Justin Hare, last week on Friday morning. Officer Hare was pulling over to assist a driver with a flat tire near Tucumcari, New Mexico, on Interstate 40, when he was shot and killed by the perpetrator, who I will never say the person's name. He was shot. He shot and killed the officer while he was in his vehicle, and then actually stole the vehicle from the police officer. It's really a horrific situation, police officer, and this is what our officers face, right? He pulled someone, or not, he didn't pull someone over. He saw someone pulled over with a flat tire. He stopped to assist, and even before he could run the plate to know that it was a stolen vehicle, the perpetrator shot him, went around to the passenger side, shot him again to make sure he killed him, pushed him over to the passenger side seat, and then took off in his cruiser. It's just a horrible thing. But this is the kind of things our officers face on a daily basis. They never know when they're stopping to help someone if that person's friendly or foe. They never know when they pull someone over for a broken tail light, or when they pull someone over for driving a little bit too fast, whether it's a friend or foe. So, one of the things, you just have to understand, that they they can do 100 traffic stops and never have a situation. And all of a sudden they do one, and they've got someone with a gun trying to kill them, or someone with a knife trying to kill them, as we saw, just a couple months ago with the officer down in Las Cruces area. We can't really understand what it's like to face those kind of issues unless you've actually faced them. Unless you've been in that situation, you really don't understand what it's like. And so when an officer is approaching you, follow their instructions, do what they tell you to do, because they don't know who you are. They don't know you like you know you, right? They don't know that you're a good person, that you just went a little bit over the speed limit. Or, a lot of times it's like a brake light is out. And, unless you have one of those, one of the very new cars that actually tells you when a light is out, you may not know that a brake light is out. Most of us don't do a walk around our vehicle every time we drive it. So they may just pull you over and say, "Hey, just wanted to let you know your brake light's out. Please get it fixed." Something as simple as that. So don't be upset when you see them unlatch the restraint on their firearm. They have to be prepared just in case you're that guy that is wanting to do them harm, in case you're that perpetrator that wants to take out law enforcement officers and you don't really care about the consequences. So I think, try to understand that as you're working with law enforcement, as you encounter them on a day-to-day basis. Thank them for the work they do. Thank them for helping protect us and putting their lives on the line every day. I mean, we have such a huge crime problem that all of us could be faced with a situation, but our law enforcement officers purposely put themselves in harm's way to protect you and me. And I hope that you understand that, and we respect that. And I also want to give a shout out to the young lady who was at the gas station. Man, what a courageous young person. She came face to face with the killer and realized it was the killer when she asked him to show ID, to buy alcohol, and uh, smartly waited until he was gone to call in law enforcement and say he was just here. But you know, it is pretty brave of her not to give away that she knew who it was and that she was going to call it in. And so I just want to give a shout out to her. Thank you for being a great citizen. Thank you for calling this in. Thank you for recognizing and paying attention enough to the news. A lot of people don't pay attention to the news, and they didn't even know there was a perpetrator out there. And so I just want to give a shout out to her. Thank you so much for doing the right thing, being a great citizen. She's in Albuquerque, South Valley. Um, you know, Called this in as soon as he was out of sight, so that she wouldn't, further put her life in danger. Just being there face to face with him had, put her life in danger. If he had realized she recognized him, he probably would have just killed her, because this was a cold-blooded killer who did not care. And so, thank her for that. I hope that the company gives her some kind of reward for that. And really just, thanks her for being a great employee and just being a great citizen of New Mexico. So because of that, they were able to find him. They took him into custody on Sunday morning. And there was a shootout. He was injured. And apparently he'll survive his injuries. So, hopefully he'll be able to spend the rest of his life in prison. He is also wanted for a murder in South Carolina, I think it is. But, he was already a wanted man, which is why he was desperate. And I'm sure he knew that the plate was being run. So I just want to, thank our law enforcement for what they do for us. But how do we, how can we increase officer safety? This has happened a few times this year, and we've lost a law enforcement officer. We had the one that was killed, again, not with a gun but with a knife, down in Las Cruces. Very similar situation where the law enforcement officer stopped to check on someone, and the person used a knife and stabbed him before he was able to respond, be able to do anything. Fortunately, there was a Good Samaritan citizen who actually was carrying a firearm, that was able to subdue and actually ended up killing the perpetrator in that case. To get law enforcement there to have a chance to save, or to get responders there to have a chance to save his life, unfortunately, they were not able to save his life. The wounds that he sustained were too great. But that's another citizen we should be giving a shout out to, and that should receive a reward or an award from that community for what she did in protecting or trying to protect that officer. So how can we, as citizens, help? Well, I think one, as we interact with law enforcement, be compliant, do what they ask. If they tell you to keep your hands on the steering wheel, by all means, keep your hands on the steering wheel. Wait until they get up to you, roll down your window, comply with everything they say. If you're someone that carries, let them know. There's nothing illegal about you carrying a gun in your car as long as you're not a felon. So if you're someone that carries a firearm in your vehicle, all you have to do is say, I've got a firearm in my glove box where my insurance is. I just want you to know, so that when I'm taking out my insurance, there's a gun there. If you do that and they see the gun, they're not going to be worried about it because you've told them. Okay. Or they may say, well, then why don't I just, run it myself? Because actually our technology today, they can actually run your insurance. In fact, they usually know whether you have valid insurance when they pull you over. So, we've made it now where you can actually keep all that on your phone and show it to law enforcement. So you don't even have to worry about getting in the glove box. But, if you carry and you're going to open the area that your gun is in, just let them know, because if they see the gun and you haven't told them, they don't know, again, if you're friend or foe. Now, but they don't know you. They don't know you from Adam. So that's one way you can really help them and assist them, is just do what they ask. And you know, follow their instructions. By the way, if you follow their instructions, and you're just barely over the speed limit or barely over what they pull you over for the speed limit, they're probably going to give you a warning. If you're a pain in the you know what, they're probably going to write you a ticket. I've had a lot of contact with law enforcement officers, and it's not their most enjoyable thing to write people tickets. They just want you to slow down, want you to be careful. So what the other thing is, what can we as a legislature do? We have these ladies and gentlemen putting their life on the line every day. And I think there's some things that we can do to support law enforcement. For one, we can not pass bills like Senate Bill 5 that was passed a couple of years ago on the qualified immunity. That was really an anti-law enforcement bill. And a lot of the problems that we've had in recruiting officers and keeping officers can be directly attributed back to that bill. The other thing, we've passed or we ran a few bills this session on retention disbursements, on giving bonuses for officers staying in place, retirees returning to work for a few years, and that was one of the bills that I helped with. I carried a bill, Senate Bill 96, that would oh no, that wasn't mine, I'm sorry, attempted murder penalty. I actually carried a bill that would reinstate the death penalty if someone killed a law enforcement officer. So those are bills that really help our law enforcement, and gives them that message that, hey, we're here for you, we do support you, we want you in our state. That whole anti-cop thing that we had a few years ago, that did not help us to have law enforcement officers and keep them. And our state got involved in that. Our state was part of that issue, and those controlling our state were at the forefront of some of that. We didn't get some of the things that would have helped law enforcement through, some of the efforts to combat crime. Honestly, very little crime legislation that law enforcement had come to me and some others in the legislature needing passed. Very little that they supported actually got passed. RICO statute was a huge thing for the prosecution of crimes, and it went through one committee with no problem, never got heard in another committee. That's a bill that really would have helped us deal with the organized crime that's happening in our state. And all of us think back to the old mafia days, and we talk about organized crime and the Al Capone and all that kind of stuff. Well, organized crime is very different today than it was back then. Most of it's run with gangs. The cartels from Mexico actually are running a lot of the organized crime in New Mexico. And so that was a bill that was really needed to deal with some of the human trafficking issues, some of the drug trafficking issues that we see, and some of the coordination within one gang to another. Those were some of the things that we really needed to deal with that did not get dealt with this year. The rebuttable presumption, which would have closed the revolving door, didn't happen. There's another small similar bill that did get through, but doesn't quite close the door completely. And honestly, neither did the rebuttable presumption. It would have helped. It would have went a long ways. But until we have prosecutors that are willing to prosecute and bring people to trial, and keep them in prison, our crime is going to continue to be out of control. Some of the other things that we need to work with and support our law enforcement officers are mental health assistance. This is a very, very stressful job. What we see is law enforcement has one of the highest divorce rates of any job in the country. So, we need to make sure, I know law enforcement officers who, haven't had a day off in a long time. And on their days off, they're asked to go to court. We need to make sure they get the time off so they can blow off steam, so they can get their mind. But because we don't have enough officers, they're pulling double shifts. They're pulling, 12-hour shifts instead of the 8-hour shifts. We need to make sure that we're giving them the time off they need. We need to make sure that if they're that if they've seen something, I have a nephew that has seen his partner shot, actually got shot himself in his vest and survived. Um, those kind of things, when they happen, we need to make sure they're getting the counseling they need to get their mind back in the right place so they can go back out on the streets and protect us. So, I hope that when you see a law enforcement officer, you'll thank them for what they're doing. You'll let them know that you support their work. If you, one easy way, and I actually need to go out and get one, is you can actually put your porch light to a blue light so they know that you're home that actually supports law enforcement. That's just an easy way as they drive by. They can say, hey, this is, you can get a flag that has the blue line saying that you support law enforcement. Those are some simple ways, but I think there's nothing better than when you see them just thanking them. Thank you for helping protect us as citizens of New Mexico. I know we've been doing it with military and with veterans. I think it's time we extend that to our law enforcement officers. Well, thank you for joining me today. We'll continue to do these around 10 o'clock on Tuesdays. You'll see some occasional special episodes on Thursday. In fact, we'll be doing one this Thursday around the baby boxes again. We're gonna hear from the lieutenant or the deputy chief up in Espanola, who actually was put in the first baby box in our state. So hopefully you'll join us for that. And we look forward to seeing you then. Again, if you have any comments or if you want to get involved with us helping get more people in office, you can email me at Senate40, FORTY, at gmail.com, Senate40 at gmail.com, or you can leave a comment below. Thank you very much and look forward to hearing from you. Bye-bye.